Sejam bem-vindos ao segundo Encontro Internacional de GeoGebra em Língua Portuguesa. Meu nome é Luciana, eu sou professora da Universidade Federal Fluminense, no Brasil. O encontro é coordenado por mim e pelo professor Humberto Bortolozzi e é promovido pelo Programa Dá Licença e pelo Instituto GeoGebra Rio de Janeiro. Em primeiro lugar, eu quero agradecer ao professor Diego Lieban, né, por ter abraçado essa ideia inicial e ter tornado possível esse bate-papo. O professor Diego Lieban vai conduzir a conversa com o professor Michael Borcherds, ele possui graduação e mestrado na Universidade Federal do Rio Grande do Sul, e o doutorado dele é em STEM Education, na Áustria, e grande parte do trabalho dele foi desenvolvido junto à equipe do GeoGebra. O professor Michael Borcherds é o diretor de tecnologia do Instituto Internacional de GeoGebra, ele trabalha no Instituto desde 2007, é diretor desde 2011. É importante ressaltar que, depois da sua gestão, o GeoGebra cresceu mais de 100 milhões de usuários globais. Michael, ele tem graduação em matemática em Oxford, tem mais de 26 anos de experiência de sala de aula e continua até os dias atuais, o que é muito legal para a gente, né? And I would like to say thank you, Michael, for accepting the invitation. And we are very happy and proud to have you with us, and Diego too. Thank you.
Really great to join you. So greetings from Europe. big hugs to everyone.
Ok, so boa tarde, bom dia, boa noite para quem nos assiste. Eu sou Diego e vou começar então uma conversa bem espontânea com o Mike. So let's start now. Mike, thank you again for this opportunity. And as we agreed before, we are talking spontaneously about some questions and that came up from contributors in GeoGebra community in language, Portuguese language. So I will start with some questions regarding your personal experience, since you are also teacher, as Luciana said before. So there is a question from Humberto Bortolozzi to asking to tell us a bit about your experience as teacher and with your students in UK. Can you say something, please?
Yeah, sure. So I think I've been using GeoGebra. I suppose I started using GeoGebra as a full-time teacher in 2007. So I made some things to go into Moodle. Actually, I think I did some circle theorem. I was just doing some simple demonstrations to go into Moodle of some circle theorems. That's kind of what got me into GeoGebra. And what got me into programming GeoGebra was I wanted to add some segment decorations to say the two segments are the same length. So I just sort of started dabbling with GeoGebra and changing it a little bit, and it went from there. So I think the exciting thing recently, I think, with getting students using it is, of course, now smartphones is the big thing. So I don't know what it's like for you, but all my students have smartphones. So it's quite handy in class. They can check their answer is a really powerful thing. They can get some instant feedback themselves. And I've got something I showed. I used this with my students this week, actually, or last week. Let's just get the screen going. So here's a little, can you see the screen okay?
Not yet, maybe it's coming. Now it's coming. Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
So I've just done this. I made this very quickly just to help them, give them some questions. I really like doing randomized questions. You can do, when you're showing it to the class, you can keep going. Oh, I don't like that one. Let's. Yeah, there's a good one. Have a go at that question. But again, the students can do that themselves for homework. So it's really nice. Some students need to practice a few more questions. Some students would like to practice the harder ones. Some students need to do a few easy ones first, and then try a few harder ones. So the students can really, obviously, they can check their answers as well, which is very powerful. So I think for students today, I think they can really, if they're motivated, they can go on YouTube, they can go on GeoGebra, they can really find things out for themselves that was much harder in the past. think that's very exciting that the power's in the students' hands a lot.
Cool. I think it's especially important, this kind of randomic exercise in this remote time where when we are teaching remotely, isn't it? So it's a good strategy to spread out with a lot of students that we have. So I think it's quite good.
Sometimes the random ones surprise you as a teacher as well, which is good. Sometimes you actually get one that's more difficult or had something surprising thing that you weren't expecting. So it keeps you on your toes too.
Exactly. And can you say something about, since you mentioned this, the use of mobile phone, mobile resource? What about in UK? Because in Brazil there is a huge discussion about the use of phones in class.
Yeah, it's funny.
I assume it's more or less the same in UK, but what about your experience about that?
I think it's the same. I think when I started teaching in 1996, the big debate was calculators or no calculators. It's just the same now. It's phones, no phones. It's just the same silly debate. I think one of our politicians is currently trying to ban phones. At the moment, it's up to individual schools, but it's just it's partly just about fashion, I think, isn't it? Politicians like to say things, don't they?
Cool. It seems to me somehow your presentation now it more or less reflects the second question from Huberto. It is about how your personal experience reflects on the development of GeoGebra. So maybe in some other direction. I mean, you mentioned already these circle theorems or whatever and experience. But maybe you can say something else about that.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's I'm always, whenever we add something, we're always thinking about, sometimes we add something because we think it's going to be because the teachers ask for it, or sometimes we think, oh, we could add that. But the really cool thing is sometimes we add something and then something else, and it works really well with something else together, and a teacher makes something that's we didn't expect. That's the really cool bit. So perhaps back to the question is when things are, very often I'll be using GeoGebra and I'll find a bug or find something we have to fix that, or I'll think, oh, I can't do that easily, and then maybe a week later I think, oh, maybe if we added that it could make it easier. So I think that's really interesting. Obviously I get to choose what gets added as well, which is very cool.
Yeah. And in this line, is there any personal wish as Mike teacher to implement in GeoGebra as Mike to Mike developer?
I think I've run out. I think not at the moment. I think I've added everything I want at the moment. I think Mike teacher is quite happy at the moment.
That's quite good. Okay. So we have also some questions from Sergio Dantas from Unespar, is an university in Paraná, in Brazil. So he's asking about how do you think GeoGebra can be used in problem solving, and which kind of benefits we can highlight when comparing it with formal, handwritten resolution.
I've got another. My screen's gone. I'm going to share that again. Hope that works. Get the right one. I think it is. Yeah, let's have a look at this one. So this one's I really like this example and things like this because so the question is, the problem is we've got to get 3 circles around the points, and they've got to be, all circles have got to be touching. So that's the problem. So, and we obviously in GeoGebra is nice because you can check the answer, because once we've finished it, we're better to see if it's right or not. And this problem is really nice because there's an algebraic way of doing it and a geometric way of doing it. And the algebraic way, you've got to do some pen and paper calculations. That's really nice. So using GeoGebra in conjunction with your pen and paper and the algebra you've learned. So we're not just doing the answer is not let's just do GeoGebra. The answer is not let's just do pen and paper. We can do both. So I'll just show you this quickly. So we've had to the algebra the students had to do. They've had to work out these distances. Again, they could have used Pythagoras for that. Would have made the formula a bit more complicated. And then they've had to do some algebra here, d2 plus d3 minus d1 for the radius of circle A. And then we can see that's working. It's doing exactly what we wanted. And then over here, here's the geometric method. So do some do some lines. And there we've got, so this is nice. So we've got exactly the same construction, but one pad by algebra and one pad by geometry. So and it kind of really helps see that they're not different things really. They're just sort of aspects of the same thing, which I think is nice. And then here's a similar. So this is yeah. Let me show this demo. So this is quite nice because this can lead to some similar problems, which are really quite nice for students to tackle. So what I'm going to do here is, so I've got an ellipse and a point, and I'm going to make a tangent to the ellipse and then put this point on it. So we can see that's on the tangent. And the same again. Oh, good. There we go. And the same again. So that's doing a tangent from this point. And then the same again. And then not quite the same again, because this time I've taken this tangent and done the intersection. So this point I can't move. So this one's free to move. This one's on a line. This one's on a line. This one's on a line. And then this one's the intersection. So obviously, because there's 5 points, I can then use the GeoGebra's tool, the 5-point conic, and just draw.
The GeoGebra logo, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. What we're famous for. So now something interesting happens. So what I'm now going to do is, let's just, I think I've got a polygon, I think. Oh, not yet. Oh, yes, I do. Yep. So there we have this. We can see this pentagon. The corners are on the outer ellipse, and it's tangential to the inner ellipse. So now we can do something quite interesting. We could put another point on this one. So this one's free to move all the way around. And then do the same again. I'm going to do the tangent point, tangent point, tangent point. So now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. And again, so if I put the point on the blue one, the points all match up. But now we can now make this, so Poncelet's porism says if you find one situation where it works, there's the one we found. We constructed one where it works. Poncelet's porism says it will work everywhere. So once I've found those two particular ellipses, it'll work. So I think we could even.
And can you also redefine some of the ellipses? It's also okay.
Yeah, of course, yeah. And in fact, we can even do it for. I think it'll work. I think it even works for hyperbole.
Hyperbole, yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So once you find one that works, it works everywhere. Pretty nice. So again, there's no algebra there in that problem. But if you try and do it for 6 points, then you have to do some pen and paper algebra, and it suddenly becomes quite a tricky problem. So there, I think we're hiding the complexity inside GeoGebra somehow, because that's reasonably simple. But if you then try and do it for 6 points rather than 5 points, you've got to do some pen and paper algebra and try and work it out. And you can do that in GeoGebra. It's a really nice little problem. So that leads to, these are the sort of problems where I think GeoGebra is really nice, because you're doing some algebra or whatever out on pen and paper, and then in GeoGebra you can see whether the algebra is right. You can see visually that it's made something quite cool. So here's an example where it's got different, just showing the same thing. So you can do this for triangle. This is for 2 circles. Triangle, quadrilateral, 2 different sides, and you can, some of them you can do star one like that. It's really nice. Let's make that bigger.
Cool.
And there's a 3D one, just for fun. So that's got 3 spheres, and then it's got the little one in the middle touching all, and it's got the big one around the outside touching all 4. Yeah, touching all 4. Yeah.
Just a personal curiosity, since you shared this ellipses example, are you somehow teaching ellipse? I mean, not you personally, but also you. Is ellipses in the curriculum in high school in UK or?
No, you might touch on them at the very end of age 18 if you do the extra maths qualification, I think, but not really, no.
Okay, yeah, because here, at least in Brazil, I'm not sure about the other countries. Usually, we are not teaching but I think anyway, some times we have the opportunity to discuss anyway, just to spread students' mind.
Yeah, of course.
And show nice things. Well. Also from Sergio, he's asking, how do you think GeoGebra can be used to enhance computational thinking at school? Maybe you can say something, because now computational thinking is, there is a great appeal about that.
Yeah, so I think the examples I just showed actually really relate really well to computational thinking, because I think you're getting algebra and computers, combined. Again, I don't really mind if students like maths, they can do that, and if they like doing computers and programming, they can do that, and if they like both together, that's good as well. I mean, I think it's really good to get, if you can get the students, but some students will like one and some will like the other. I think that's okay. So that, again, I think the thing I just showed, I think really relates to that, and I've got a couple more examples here, which I think is quite nice. Just coming up. So I'm just going to move this slider and see what happens. This is someone sent me this file about 10 years ago, and it's this is the most amazing GeoGebra file I've ever seen, and this was made by a student. So let's just move the slider, see what happens. I was just completely gobsmacked when I saw this.
Which grade? Sorry,
I don't know the age.
They're
not one of my students. How amazing is that? What's the student had to do to make that? So they've had to, let's look at what they've actually had to type. So to make this line here, they've typed -2 -a, 3.
Cool.
So just think of the steps the students had to go through, and they'll have made some mistakes when they're doing it. They'll have had to adjust their answer. You can see, and it's very simple. They've just done vertical and horizontal lines, which is fine. So, so a different student might want to do some diagonal lines. They'd have to type things like a, -a, or a, 2a if they want to change the gradient. I just think that's such a nice example. You can give that to any age student. So here's one that an older student did. This is one of my students. So let's have a look at this one. So again, this time he's only got 5 sliders, one for each letter, and he's got some. This one's much more challenging.
It's more smooth lines as well, not only with segments. Yeah, cool.
It's worth waiting for.
Jacob or something.
Get there in a minute. Slider A is very slow, so speed it up. Yeah, I started in the wrong place, I think.
But in that case, he used some equations behind. I mean, to.
Yeah. So he's just used. So he's exactly. So again, thinking of all the things he's had to work through, and he's used the ABS function, and I think he's used this one's. I think this one's a Lissajous curve. So he's used sine and cosine for this one. Just really beautiful.
Cool. Yeah, it seems to me there are a big concern here because usually teachers are really compromised with this kind of curriculum, that they have to fit somehow. But something that usually I'm saying is when you have this kind of open tasks or activities that you can explore such kind of creativity creative tasks. We can even use a lot of topics that are already in the curriculum. Even they are not in the same standard structure, but for sure they are using a lot of this kind of strategies and knowledge from basic math, isn't it?
It's a challenge though, because some teachers will like different tasks and some don't like doing this sort of thing, and
yeah,
all teachers are all different, students are all different.
Cool. And in that case, they were quite free to do their names or some other modeling words or tasks.
Yeah, I think I said they could do initials or names. Always seems to work quite well. Yeah. You could do butterfly. You could do
little by little by them.
You could do butterflies. Yeah, I mean, again, they make a start. They get stuck. They ask their friends. It's good.
Cool. Well, just more or less in this line still with computational thinking, and there is a question from José Manuel from GeoGebra Institute in Portugal. He's asking about the connections with Python and the turtle command. So considering the current appeal, particularly in Brazil as well as in Portugal, regarding computational thinking in education, is there any special plan to integrate or reintegrate or enhance Python language or the turtle command in GeoGebra?
Probably not. I mean, if we make something, we want it to be the best in the world. We're not going to do something that's like the third best. There's no point. So we haven't got a good idea really at the moment. I mean, I think, and it's got to work well in web browsers and so on. So at the moment we think about it a lot, but at the moment we haven't got a good idea of how to make it a compelling. It's got to be the Python and Judge. We've got a really compelling thing where they can work together, or block programming. I've seen a few examples, but I'm not convinced yet how that can really be. The block programming is really good. Judge was really good. Is there a sensible way to put them together? I haven't seen that idea yet. So.
Yeah, in that case, I think it's also important that teachers have the feeling to which kind of strategy is better for their audience, because sometimes they can work better with one strategy, some other times with another one. So I think this kind of role of teachers is quite important in that case. And well, in this first block of questions, I think there are two more questions. One from Astrigida Silveira from Cabo Verde. She's asking about the connections with STEM education. How do you think GeoGebra can be integrated in STEM education? If you can show something maybe, or just share some ideas or perspectives.
I think you're the expert on this, aren't you? We should be asking you.
But maybe this gears example or something.
So this, so I saw this online. Someone had done it in a different bit of software, and I thought, I've been wanting to do this in GeoGebra for a long time. This has really inspired me. Let's just have a look at again, this relates a little bit back to the previous questions. Again, someone's had to do some really powerful calculations. We have a look here, what they've had to type in here. Make that a little bit bigger. See that formula there? I mean, it's kind of horrible and kind of beautiful all at once, isn't it? So I think it's just amazing that someone's got the perseverance to work that out and get it working. Here's another example, which I think I showed you this before, didn't I? So this is, I'm quite pleased with this. So I've done that in GeoGebra using the sequence command, and then I've printed it with a laser cutter. So on one side I've printed one set of cuts, on the other side I've printed another set of cuts, and I've had to fold it. So it's basically a bit of origami, but I've made it out of some acrylic. and it's really quite rigid. See, I'm pushing that quite hard there. You can see that's
Cool.
so it's turned quite a floppy bit of plastic into a really rigid hyperbolic paraboloid. It's really nice. So yeah, I think, and again, I mean, you've done a lot of work with the 3D printing, haven't you? So I think there are many possibilities with the 3D printing to do some quite exciting things. Oh, now I'm on big screen. I'll show that again with my big screen.
Much better, yeah.
Really nice.
I'm still curious to try out this structure. I was not able so far, but yeah, it's really amazing. I have a personal question. Since you shared these examples that you made some years ago, it's quite common, at least to me, as a current, as continuous user. Sometimes I'm coming back to previous or old constructions or applets, and then with new tools, I'm refreshing my mind as well. I mean, it's new way of thinking as well, since we have new commands, and I remember when the 3D features came out. Well, I was so glad to implement something that I have done before with these.
Yeah, I remember a lot of. Do you remember a lot of users used to do the fake 3D beforehand?
Yeah, exactly.
So they spend hours making these really beautiful things in fake 3D. It's lovely. It's amazing.
So it's quite nice to see how can we clean our mind, our way of think when we have some new tools that make our life easier. So that's quite good. And maybe we can still, just to continue in this line of the talk, we were talking about this remote teaching and this random strategy. Maybe you can say something about the exam mode in GeoGebra. I mean, considering the use of mobiles and so on.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. So I mean, I think so. Germany is for example, Germany is doing a lot of work on this. They really like the GeoGebra calculator suite because they like to have they like the probability calculator and the CAS calculator, and they want both of those in the exam. So exam mode there is quite popular with the GeoGebra suite calculator. It's a bit of a challenge because I think again they want to do BYOD, bring your own device. So we've got to try and make exam mode work on everything. So on iPads it works really well. Android it works really well. Windows and Mac it's a bit tricky to get that working well. There's an ongoing challenge. I think, and again, but we've done we've worked with a district in New York State, and they use an MDM. That's a sort of a mobile device management system with iPads. So then the teacher or the system administrator can lock down all the iPads at once and say, right, all the iPads are locked into GeoGebra now. But that's when they've got they have to have school issued devices for that. So obviously, so school issued devices are easier. BYOD is a bit more of a challenge.
Yeah, it's a really huge discussion about that. How to think in good strategies to promote better opportunities of learning.
Yeah, we're back to your mobile phone point that the students have a mobile phone in their pocket. We should be using it more, I think, and But I think there's a big resistance to allowing the students to have their phones in the exam. That's very teachers don't like that.
Well, also in Brazil there is still another issue regarding the connection. You know, there are some schools in remote areas that connection is not quite good. So, or sometimes they even don't know internet. So it's a particular challenge as well. Well, I think from now we can move to the second block of questions. It's more technical. There are a big concern regarding this transition from GeoGebra groups to GeoGebra classroom, and there are some colleagues wondering about this movement. So there is a question from Jorge Casio. He's from Santa Catarina, the University of Santa Catarina, and he is asking about this, exactly about this transition. Which kind of features will be moved to classroom? Are you considering to do this transition? Because he's a bit afraid. He's quite a huge user of the group, GeoGebra group. So he's asking about these functionalities. Which one you are planning to move to classroom or so on?
Yeah, well, I think our plan is that GeoGebra Classroom will replace GeoGebra Group. So we're hoping we can add everything. Obviously, we can't do everything overnight. I think probably the next thing we're going to be, well, I'll show you. I've got a multi-user demo for you in a sec, perhaps. Or perhaps I'll share that now. So this is. I'll show you this, how this works. So you can try this out now. If you go to beta.geogebra.org, and at the moment it's only on the GeoGebra notes file. So if you've got a GeoGebra notes file on beta.geogebra.org, then you can create the lesson. And we have this new option here. So this is what we're working on at the moment. Still not finished yet. We can choose that the students, if they're in groups of 4, then all 4 students can work simultaneously on the GeoGebra notes file. I think that's quite exciting. And again, I think quite soon we're going to be working on some sort of chat or feedback feature, so the teacher will be able to give some feedback to the students. Obviously, got to think about that quite carefully in terms of who's allowed to chat to whom and so
on. Well, that kind of example that you shared now, where students can work together, was also a question from Brando Pena. It's an undergraduate student, and he's also really committed with the GeoGebra community in Brazil, and he was wondering about this opportunity and in allow students working together in GeoGebra. I think it's quite good that we are having this opportunity soon. Well, or already in beta, isn't it?
Yeah, you can try that now.
Yeah, cool. Let me see. There is another question from Carmen Matias. She's a professor in University of Santa Maria in the south of Brazil, the same state as mine. She's also wondering about the groups, and actually she has a question about feedback in classroom, because the teacher can even change or interact with students' productions in classroom. But is there any plans to give feedback to students in classroom?
Yeah, so I think we're going to add that quite soon. So again, try it out and let us know what you think about it and send us some feedback.
Cool.
That's how we work best, is when people tell us what's good, what's working, and what they want improving.
Just a question that I got on mind right now regarding the classroom from a colleague of mine, actually, some weeks ago. She was wondering if it was possible, or if you considered that or not, just to organize the students alphabetically, because when she was registering their notes, I mean their grades, it was somehow mixed. So that could be.
I think at the moment it's probably in the order they join at the moment, I think, isn't it? It's probably a bit tricky. Do you want it by surname? That might be a bit tricky, because if a student enters 3 names, it's maybe a little bit tricky. But would you want it done by surname, maybe?
Yeah, well, could be, yeah, maybe. It was just a question from her, because I have the same, actually. When yesterday I was just checking out the students' task, and then I was following in my regular list, and then looking for in these mixed productions. So
yeah, of course.
maybe
I'll find out.
yeah, that could be nice. In Brazil, it's even more common the using their first names, but whatever, maybe it would be help.
Yeah, again, that's always interesting, isn't it? Because some countries use first names, some use surnames, some countries your name is 3 names.
Yeah. But Mike, I think it's quite common. Users, I can say from my personal perspective, at least, I'm not developer, so sometimes I have no idea how complicated it is to implement that. We have the idea, but we have no idea how challenging.
Having the idea is always the hard bit. The idea is the hard bit always.
Cool. Yeah. So there is another question from Carmen. Is even more regarding the pandemic situation. So let me see. She said many teachers was using tools available in GeoGebra to interact with their students, and she wanted to know if there is any statistic study from the team, how many teachers actually use the classroom or any other features, and especially in by countries. So if you have any kind of information, and if you can share, even if it's not public, if she has any opportunity to get any access of this statistic.
We haven't, to be honest, we haven't looked at that for Classroom at all. We've just put it out there, and we know lots of people are using it, but we haven't really looked at the countries yet.
Cool. And I was personally wondering about because every time that I'm creating a classroom, I'm duplicating somehow the activities. So how this is storaging the server, or
I don't know. I think someone else does that, but I think it's all they've got a good plan, so it works. we pay Amazon and they sort it out, I think.
Well,
Amazon seems very reliable, so
that's good.
So far.
Okay. So William Vieira Gonçalves is a professor and collaborator also from GeoGebra community. He's from Mato Grosso. UNEMAT is his university. He was also asking about the feedback for students in GeoGebra classroom. I think you answered already, and but he wanted to know also about perspectives of innovation and new functionalities for GeoGebra classroom. Maybe if you can give us some spoilers, or if you have any.
I suppose I think the live students. I think that's the really big thing we're working on. That's very tricky to get working right.
But he was wondering something about reports, for example. I have no idea exactly how did he think, but I think maybe how kind of just to help teachers to follow their commitment, let's say, with the task or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, you can see what the students are doing, obviously, but yeah, I mean, I think probably the main thing is, if you have an idea, tell us. If you have a really good idea, send it along, and we'll have a look at it.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I think I would say that in Portuguese just to emphasize. O Mike está dizendo aqui, gente, a a ideia da conversa que vai ser traduzida depois, né, por legenda, mas eu acho que esse aspecto é bem importante tu reforçar. Ele disse: se qualquer pessoa tiver uma boa ideia, compartilhem com a equipe, com os desenvolvedores, porque eles são bastante receptivos a implementar essas novas ideias, quando eles consideram que é pertinente, né? Então, acho que é um convite para todo mundo para compartilhar suas ideias. Okay, thanks for that, Mike.
You know, we love hearing your ideas. I mean, we never forget anything. You know, it might be 5 years before we add it, but we never forget anything.
Yeah, I know very well.
We've got so many ideas, and we have to put them in order somehow, and you know.
Yeah, priority ranking, something like that. Yeah,
it's very difficult.
Yeah. Especially right now, I think with this pandemic situation, you have to put the lens on some more demanding features, isn't it?
I don't know. I mean, I think so we planned GeoGebra Classroom was originally planned to be an in-classroom tool. So with the pandemic, we changed we had to change quite quickly, and then we launched it a little bit earlier than we planned, and we changed which features we were going to add first to try and help people out. So I hope that was good.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think our time is quite good. I mean, almost getting in the end, but we have a last question. It's from well, it's more or less something that you shared before regarding automated corrections or verification. It's from Rogério Almeida Vaz. He is a teacher and in Brazil. But yeah, it's quite connected with this first example that you could. I think it's a good opportunity to mention something about that, like gamifying the tasks or the activities in GeoGebra. I mean, they can fulfill some box or whatever, and then they can get a second part of the task. You know what I mean? Like a sequence of steps. So he was wondering about that. Is there any possibility to implement kind of that? But I would say, I don't know, maybe you can say something, but I think it's already available as you shared before.
Yeah, I've got I'm trying to get my screen sharing to work again. Let's try again.
Cool.
I'm sharing it. Does it need to have to be? Oh, here we go. Right, great. So I've got a few examples just to show. We've been doing quite a lot of work recently on assessment in GeoGebra. So that's something that publishers really like, so they can get students doing an automatic checking. So I'll just show you this one. So what I've got here is just these three tools are allowed, and the student's got to construct the perpendicular bisector. So let's have a go at that. And then what I've got in this box here is kind of like the API. So this might be talking to some website or some publisher. So here I've got target 1 reached, that's target 1, and target 2 reached at once. So that sent some information back to the website. And then we've got target 3 reached there and we're finished. So then you could give the student some information like, you know, well done, you're finished, and maybe he'd watch this video or something and give them something after that. This one's a little bit different. So what I've got here is a randomized GeoGebra problem, so we can have as many questions as you want, and we can show we can show the student we can show them whether they've got it right or wrong. We can show them the correct answer. If the student gets it correct, then again, here's the API down the bottom. So again, we can tell the website the student's got the answer correct. And the really cool thing is, let's say the student gets the question wrong. Then show them some sort of feedback. In this case, a little animation or something. but we could show them a bar chart, or we could show them some lines of algebra, or anything you can make in GeoGebra. I think that's a really powerful idea there. And I'll put the clicked on the wrong thing. I'll put the link in if people want to have a go at that. And here's a slightly different example. So the nice thing about GeoGebra is not everything is type in the box. And perhaps alluding back to what you said earlier, at the moment we're stuck to have the curriculum, and then the student has to do pen and paper answers. We can get away from that with computers and GeoGebra. We can assess. The student can just drag these.
Cool.
Or the student could just drag. You can assess in a much more imaginative way, and the student and the computer can mark it as well. So that's really cool. So this one's just showing. We've done a lot of work over the last year or so, really linking in the GeoGebra objects like circles and lines and planes, and linking those to the input boxes, and really making sure they work really well together. So again, if you remember, if you've been using GeoGebra a long time, you'll remember that if you used to type ax squared, it didn't used to work. You used to have to type a times x squared. But now you can type ax squared, bx plus c. It works, and obviously that's really important for the student experience. They can enter matrices and whatever they want. So that we've done a lot of work making that just really work really well.
Cool. So I have seen Luciana was also already sharing the links on the screen, but I think it would be nice if you can share also in the YouTube link afterwards those examples that you shared, so people can click directly on them and explore by them their own. I think it would be.
Of course, definitely.
We will.
It's always good to play yourself.
Cool. Yeah, it's the best part, isn't it? Well, Mike, I would say thank you again for your time and for your for sharing these examples with us and sharing your experience as well. So we are so glad to spread out this moment with the Portuguese language community. And we hope they can use a lot these tips that you shared with us. Thank you again.
Thanks. It's just really it's really inspiring just talking to people, especially from so far away. Getting great ideas. And
Michael, I would like you to thank you in my name, in name of Humberto Bortolozzi, for answer our questions. It was very good. We learned a lot today, and thank you so much for your time. We appreciate that. Thank you.
Real pleasure. Thank you.
And please, greetings for all the team when you have contact with them. So it's a great pleasure to be in contact with you, with all of you. And thanks for all of you are doing for us, teachers and students, researcher and community in Brazil and whatever, in every place.
Quero agradecer mais uma vez ao professor Diego Leban por tornar possível esse momento, né, essa conversa com o professor Michael, e agradecer em nome também do professor Humberto Bortolozzi e agradecer a todos que assistiram o vídeo. Muito obrigada. Tchau, tchau.
Obrigado.
Bye,
tchau,
bye.
Bye.